coffee in a minute. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the 15th anniversary celebration of San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Church in Georgetown, Texas. My name is Molly Hornbuckle. I serve as the president of the board this year. My pronouns are she and her. This feels good to be together, and I am so glad to see you here. Thank you for coming and participating. Especially those of you that might feel new, wondering who we are and what we do here. Thanks for coming. Those of you who are watching at home, thanks. Especially any of you out there that were a part of the very beginning. We are celebrating you and honoring you today. Those of you in the room, we are here to tell our story together. I hope it'll be a time of celebration, of joy, and inspiration as we tell the story of how we came to be and what we hope to become. My husband Bill and I began attending San Gabriel in 2013, back when they were meeting in the atrium in Sun City. We may be among the few people here who actually remember some of those founding folks. We can hear their voices, we can feel their enthusiasm for what they could envision for this fellowship. Theirs is an inspiring story. We will tell the story today using their earliest memories and feeling their enthusiasm for the relationships that they developed in the forming of this congregation. We have arranged the chairs so that you can look at each other. That's what storytelling is about. No kindergarten teacher ever said, please line up in rows so I can tell you a story. We want you to feel like you're a part of this story and participating in it. You may be hearing, you will be interpreting, and you will be responding. We will sing our story together, and we will learn a new song. We will pay tribute to the early members who signed the membership book, signifying their commitment to a relationship with each other and with this institution. But the most important thing about our story time together is that we are the ones who will be writing the next chapters. Come. Let us tell our story.
I'll be lighting the chalice this morning that Pete Geiger, one of our founders, made. And I just wanted to I see his family is here. I just want to especially welcome you all. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and brightness in our connections. The flame lights our way back together again from our separate lives and brings together what has happened before, which lives inside of us, what is happening now, and that which has yet to come. Let it shine bright and light our way forward into the beloved community we have built, and we will continue to build, that is infinitely bound in our love.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Augustine. My pronouns are she and her. And this month of November, we celebrate Native American Heritage Month. And in honor of that, I say, I stand on the land of the Tonkawa Nation. So, as part of our singing this morning, we have selected two songs that were used frequently early in the history of this church. Our opening hymn comes with a story from our founding member, Kay Sanders. Unfortunately, Kay couldn't be with us today, but Kay did a little research for us, and she contacted Frances Reeser, and here's what Frances and her discussed. You all know the song Enter, Rejoice, and Come In? Okay, enter to rejoice and come in. What's the fourth verse? Thank you. Don't be afraid of some change. Well, Francis remembers exactly when we started singing verse 4. And it was Shirley Wentworth, who, a former president, board president, insisted singing that verse when they began the serious search for the property that you are now in today and celebrating. When they made the decision to move from Sun City and buy property, can you imagine the fear that they might have had? And so Shirley says, let's sing verse number 4, don't be afraid of some change. And it was going to take a great amount of courage to make that change. And it took on a lot of meaning when this fellowship decided to hire a contract minister, part-time and then full-time, Reverend Mark Scrawbutz. Again, don't be afraid of some change. So it's important when they decided to become a welcoming congregation. Again, courage. Don't be afraid of some change. So they always sang that fourth verse with enthusiasm and gusto. And Kay remembers smiling and feeling like we could do it. We could be courageous and we can change. So thank you, Kay, for sharing that story with us. We've created, as you notice, an altar area this morning, this table. And there'll be items to be brought forward that are going to be symbols of our faith and our shared life together. Some of these symbols may be from your homes. Some of them are from our church. And there'll be folks bringing things forward to place on the altar. So for a change, we're going to ask you to remain seated for our first hymn. If you'll look in your gray hymnals, it's number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. We're asking you, please, to only sing verses 1 and 4. Jackie's going to play an intro, and then we'll chime in with our singing on verses 1 and 4, gray hymnal, number 361. I know you all love this song.
Good morning. I'm Woody Hibbard. My pronouns are he, him. And in place of our affirmation this morning, let us share our covenant. It's printed on your handout. Okay, this one. We'll read this responsibly. This side, the right side facing us, will read the lines marked with R. And this side, those marked with L, yes. All right, here we go. Members of our beloved community, we agree to while together we will practice patience. We will seek first to understand, then to be understood. We promise to work together in support of our mission. We will commit to resolve differences by speaking directly to each other or through mediation. Moving forward, we will honor our past, embrace change, and joyfully celebrate the success of our community. Thank you.
My name is Keith Hutchinson. My pronouns are he, him, and I serve as the membership team lead and also help out with tech team. But I want to share with you this morning just some of the history of this congregation, where we started 15 years ago, some of those who made that happen, and tell a little bit of the story of the distance we've come. San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship has been here in Georgetown since we were founded 15 years ago. And some of the key people who created this fellowship are part of what I want to share with you today and record and also recall some of the highlights of our 15 years. We started here in Georgetown in 2007. A number of people who lived in Sun City and had been attending Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church in Cedar Park started talking about forming a UU church here in Georgetown. And on December 7th, 2007, founding members met at Roe and Caroline Mackey's home and signed the book. Those first members at that meeting included the Mackeys, Kay and Larry Walker, Frank and Kay Sanders, Bobby and Jim Wool, Shirley and Frank Wentworth, Maria and George Wagner, Eleanor Spink, Clarice and Pete Geiger, Dick and Jean Erdenberger, Sarah Goodman, and others. Our 36 charter members who signed the book that year and in early 2008 also included Lynn and Jean Ellis, Francis Reeser, and Susan and Larry Darlington. In 2007 and 2008, the initial members did all that was necessary to start a new organization. They created bylaws, formed a committee structure, named committee chairs, created a budget, elected officers, all those things we do now, they had to do for the first time. And they wrote a mission statement, importantly. In 2008, the San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Gathering, as we were first called, met at the Sun City Activity Center and the Georgetown Public Library. We typically met twice a month on a Sunday and on a Friday. We were an itinerant church in a box, as we said, that had to set up and take down for each service at a different location. Services were lay-led or featured an invited speaker. By the end of 2008, we had 49 members. In 2009, we often met on the second floor of the Lockett Building down on the square. And that year, we applied to and were accepted in the Unitarian Universalist Association as an emerging congregation. We sent our first delegates, Caroline and Roe Mackey, to the UU General Assembly. And we also that year incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit, all the things to start becoming an organization. By 2010, we were meeting 3 times a month, and we had saved $50,000 in our growth fund. When you don't have a mortgage, you can save some money. Or a minister. And that first year at UU General Assembly, we were recognized as a full member congregation. In 2012, San Gabriel hired our first part-time minister, Reverend Mark Skrabatz. And at that year, by that time, we had $100,000 in our growth fund and began a serious search for a building where we could meet regularly. While most of the members of the congregation were still Sun City residents, we wanted to be a church for everyone in the Georgetown community, not just Sun City. We wanted to be a place for people of all ages, including families and young children. In April of 2013, after another church at this location on Hutto Road closed, this set of 3 church buildings was listed on the market. And after many meetings and consultation with the UUA and an amazing lightning-fast fundraising campaign, we put together an effort to acquire a permanent home. In 6 short weeks, we raised $200,000 in cash, and with a $300,000 loan, we bought this church campus. Can you imagine all that happened in 6 weeks, to go from nothing to actually owning our church? With our new church home, everyone pitched in to get it ready, working in teams to clean, repair, organize, and furnish the sanctuary, the kitchen, the little house, the fellowship house. Pete Geiger made our stained glass chalice. Glenn Wittgenstein built this lectern and these 2 tables next to it, all the things that we needed to become a church. By the end of 2013, our membership totaled 70. In 2014, we voted to call Reverend Skrabats as our part-time settled minister, and we held an installation service here with UU ministers from across the region joining in. It was a real highlight that year. By 2016, Reverend Mark was hired on a full-time basis. Highlights from that time include the Art on the Vine fundraiser. That was a blast, wasn't it? With music and dancing, we held Ramadan dinners with the Raindrop Muslim community, and also invited Congregation Haver Shalom to join us. In 2017, we hired Karina Whitaker Lewis as our Director of Religious Education. Our religious education program grew quickly and expanded under Karina's leadership, and we grew our children's program to include lower and upper elementary classes, as well as a nursery for infants. Some Sundays we had classes at several levels from elementary school through middle school kids. We also participated in a range of social justice activities, including the Caring Place, support for Capital Idea, and school supplies for local schools. Reverend Mark and other members also started a PFLAG chapter here in Georgetown, the first PFLAG chapter. Now there's another one started. And we also helped to start Courageous Conversations. Some of our members were instrumental in making that happen. We initiated a petition to call for the removal of the Confederate monument on the courthouse square. And in January 2017, many of us showed up in our yellow shirts and marched down Congress Avenue with UU members from across the region for the Women's March in Austin. It was a memorable day. Each year on MLK Day, we, in our yellow shirts, march from the courthouse along Martin Luther King Jr. Street and participate in an MLK Day ceremony here in Georgetown. By 2018, membership totaled 147. The next year, in 2019, Reverend Skrabats announced his retirement, and we hired Sandy Ingham as our interim minister. And then in March of 2020, everything changed when the COVID pandemic suddenly meant that we could no longer meet in person. An amazing team of church members quickly figured out all the skills and technology that allowed us to shift to being an online organization. It was incredible. We never missed a Sunday. We'd never done it before, but overnight, a few I was going to say a crack team of technical experts, but crackpots, if you will. We're still relying on them. They figured out how to stream and how to make us an online church. And there we were, an online church for 2 years. We never imagined it would be that long, but it was. By 2021, Reverend Sandy's interim ministry ended, and we were once again a lay-led congregation. Our Sunday services team continued to create online services. It's amazing that we existed online for so long. But after 2 years as an online-only congregation, we came back for services this year, and we hired Reverend Jamie Yandel as our part-time minister. While we learned new skills during the pandemic and continued to stream our services online, We are again growing our in-person fellowship this year, and how wonderful it is to see so many faces here this morning. What a journey it has been in these 15 years since we started as an idea in the living room of Roe and Caroline Mackey. It would have been impossible to see all the ways we would grow and change and adapt in that time. As a church and an organization, we're still a teenager, still figuring out our place in the community and finding our voice. And as we come together again for worship after 2 years as a virtual church, we are finding new ways to develop, grow, and thrive as a home for spiritual growth and social justice here in Georgetown. I now want to introduce Frank Sanders, who's going to talk with Reverend Jamie a little bit. Most of you know Frank, but Frank is a charter member of San Gabriel, was there in the living room when things got started and signed the book on that first night. Frank served as a treasurer on our first board and also served as vice president on the board. Frank has chaired Sunday Services Committee. He's chaired the Finance Committee many, many times. He's been the longtime leader of the Stewardship Committee. I've never known another leader of the Stewardship Committee who heads our pledge drive every year. And he's been the head of the tech team for as long as I can remember. Even this morning, we're trying to figure stuff out and relying on Frank's knowledge. And on top of all that, he started the men's breakfast that has been meeting for many, many years. So let's hear from Frank and Reverend Jamie.
You got the mic. All right.
You also need one?
I need a mic too.
Yeah. We're gonna share.
Oh, we're going to share.
Well,
All right.
I don't know.
We're supposed to come down here, Frank. Apparently, we are being ushered. I'm not a talk show host, so I'm getting my bearings here. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to tell the story. So the first question is, tell us the story of how it was decided to form a UU church in Georgetown, Texas.
There were supposed to be 4 of us up here. And I either speak too little or speak too much. So I made some notes I wouldn't forget. The story is that we had this group of people, all just about, all of us were senior citizens, retired, and we had all been looking for a Unitarian Universalist church, and we had all found the same one because it was closest to Georgetown in Cedar Park, and that was Live Oak. Every Sunday, we would truck our way over to Live Oak, and at the end of the service, we would stop on our way back and we'd have lunch somewhere. Same group of people over and over again. And we all knew that this distance it was workable, but we weren't really comfortable with it. And we always, somewhere during the lunch period, would say, we got to set up some kind of Unitarian Universalist church in Georgetown. And I would say, yeah, someday, maybe we'll get that done. I'd been involved in a church where we first hired a minister, and we went out and built a building, and I was in no hurry at all. But we had 2 members, Roe and Caroline Mackey, who had actually experience putting together a Unitarian Universalist church. And they knew what to do, and they got us started. But it wasn't really, when we talked about this, it wasn't really just the idea of setting up a church so that we wouldn't have to drive so far, so that we'd have and be able to participate in other activities of the church besides the Sunday service. Every time we talked about it, in the back of my head, I was thinking, no, Georgetown is changing. There are people coming to Georgetown who are already Unitarian Universalists. They're not seniors and retired, so they don't have the time and the facility to come all the way into Austin every Sunday. And then there are people who just don't know anything about Unitarian Universalism. And they're not going to find out in Georgetown. So we began as a senior citizen community in Sun City, but we knew that we were going somewhere else.
All right. The second question is, how has San Gabriel honored the vision of the earliest members?
We just had this experience with the COVID shutdown. And we kind of had to start anew again. And we did it. And to me, that was sort of like a repeat of our previous experiences. But, you know, through all the changes we've been through, hiring a minister, coming to this building, I think the core of this church has always been that we're a welcoming community, that we are all seeking our own truth, and well, there were some other words in here that, but that's really what this church is.
And our final question, what is a blessing or a special word that you have for us at San Gabriel on this anniversary day?
Change is coming. Be ready for it. But it's coming. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. But it's going to happen to us again. And we're going to deal with it one way or the other.
All right, thank you, Frank. Let's get a round of applause for Frank. So we're going to sing a hymn, and it is Let Us Stand in Celebration. And the words will be projected, and this was from the earlier days.
I kept waiting for one more phrase in that history, and that's this phrase, and they sang together. Because I know that this congregation has been singing together ever since those early days. And, you know, there's a myth. There's a myth about UU churches. They don't sing very well. We have just absolutely exploded that myth around here. So some of us decided there would be a song fest today to sing some of those songs that perhaps are some of our favorites that we've been singing through the years. Now, honestly, you know, as I do, that music is a very personalized thing. So if any one of you had come up with this list, it would be different than the one that we have today. But at any rate, I've asked some congregational helpers, some helping singers to help us out, and they're going to come up right now, please, and take their places. And we will all need 2 hymnals. We have 2 hymnals. They're underneath your chairs. And, excuse me, we will start with the gray hymnal. You'll just need the gray hymnal for right now. As our singers are getting located here. Okay. All right. Now, just to relieve your mind, we're not going to sing 6 stanzas of each hymn. We're only going to sing the first stanza of each hymn. And our first one is number 346 in the gray hymnal. Come sing a song with me. 346. Gather the Spirit, 347. Spirit of life, come to me. You can see why this hymn has been a favorite of many, many Unitarian Universalist congregations through the years. All right, now it's time to change hymnals. Take your teal hymnal, if you will. And let's begin with number 108. I'm sorry, 1008. You'll notice in this hymnal, they started at 1000, so all the numbers are 4 digits. 1008, when our heart is in a holy place. If you don't, put it down and clap your hands kind of off the beat on this one, okay? Come and go with me. We should be standing and singing that. Let's do it one more time. Okay? Here we go. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Where I'm from, where I'm from. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Thank you, that's it. Thanks, singers, thank you. Going back.
Is this on? Yes, it is. So this next part, we're going to have 4 members who joined either during the pandemic or shortly before in an effort to look back. So we heard some of the founding members speak, to look forward and hear kind of like where things are right now as we continue to dream big and do big things. So I'm going to invite them up, and I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time. Great, thanks for that. Affirmations are always good. And then we'll just do the same thing as we did with Frank, where I just ask a few questions and they tell us. So right now, I would like to invite Rob Berthold, Carolyn Sassano, Walt Holt, and Pam Hibbard forward. If y'all want to rearrange, feel free. I love this. All right, so the first question is, how did you find your way to San Gabriel?
Mine is an unusual story. We live in Sun City, and my wife and I used to go to the dog park. And sometimes afterwards, a group of us would get together and chat about local politics, democratic things. And we met a lady there named Mary Jones. And Mary Jones, you may recall, was a member here. And anyway, she passed away. And so my wife and I came to her memorial service here, and Mark at that time performed that service. And after a period of time, we says, well, this might be a nice, comfortable place to be. And so we've been coming back here about 4 years now, I guess. So anyway, that's my story.
So glad you have a dog.
My story sort of dovetails onto Walt's, because after they went to that service, they told us about this place, and we decided that we would like to come too. But in the beginning, I always answer it the same way. This is the only church I was ever able to get my husband to go to. All honesty. We knew a little bit about Unitarian Universalism, and we knew that there was a group meeting in Sun City, but we never really did anything about it. We just kept saying, oh, we should go sometime. So anyway, with that impetus, we came and enjoyed and felt very much at home here.
Well, my journey here started a long time ago. I've been a Unitarian Universalist for about 40 years. My introduction to that was in 1983 when a friend took me to Mount Diablo UU in Walnut Creek, California. And like many of you, I'd grown up in a different faith tradition, Lutheranism for me. But I left that when I could no longer accept their theology. But at Mount Diablo UU, the first Sunday I walked in, I felt immediately at home amongst the people there. Over the years, we've been members of several UU congregations before this one. The one in Bakersfield, California, twice, because we lived there twice. Midland, the UU Church in Midland, Texas, and also when we lived overseas, the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is kind of a mail order church for those who don't have a local congregation to attend. It is, in fact, the largest UU congregation on the planet with about 3,500 members. In every congregation that we've been a member of, we've always volunteered our time and actually I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Well, that's why I wrote notes. So we found San Gabriel before we even moved to Georgetown. We were looking for places to move when we left Bakersfield. We looked this place up before we moved. Said, "Oh yeah, there's a UU church in Georgetown. We can move there." So, we came here on our first visit was during a house hunting trip, February 2019. I think that was the Sunday that Mark Skravitz told us that he was retiring. We subsequently bought a house and moved here in June of 2019, and joining this place was the first thing that we did, and we've enjoyed being here.
There was a UU church in Midland
Yeah, there is.
and Bakersfield.
And in Bakersfield.
I'm Carolyn Sassano. I go by the pronoun she, her. My pets call me mom, but don't call me mom. I'm going to change the question a little bit and say my story's not that interesting. So when people in Texas ask you what church you belong to, I've not had that experience living in California, and I always say I go to the Church of Perpetual Kindness, and people go, "Oh, where is that? Oh, I thought everybody knew." And then you get to talk about St. Gabriel. And it is the Church of Perpetual Kindness, and today is National Kindness Day. So I just think it's a nice day to celebrate who we are. But I wanted to say, in my short time of being UU, what's it like to be a UU? And I want to say it's like being in a really great relationship. So you're around people who have the same values as you do, and people have your back. And if you're lucky enough, you get to finish each other's sentences without explanation.
Don't go anywhere, one more question. Do you have any positive thoughts or blessing for us this morning? And if you don't, you can pass the mic.
Considering what UU went through during the COVID times, it restored back. The parking lot has been resealed and looking really good. The Zoom people did a fantastic job. The greeters do a fantastic job. We had a situation where we did some breakout groups, and I thought that was really a wonderful thing. And I would be encouraged to see a little bit more of that. And also with the sermons, sometimes we have interaction with our congregation, which is really nice. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
I guess in my way of looking at it, I'd like us to keep doing what we're doing. I think we try some new things, and so far it's kept it pretty exciting for me, things to look forward to. And I think the connections groups and the breakout groups and all the other interactions we have with each other is the richest part of this to me. So just keep it up, and hopefully everybody will attend as often as they're able.
I'm just glad this place is here. And I'm grateful to the founding members and all the members who followed, who helped grow it to what it is, and all those members who continue to sustain it. And I just hope we continue to thrive and grow and be a spiritual resource for all who come.
Stay kind. There's a shortage, and I think we can grow it here. So.
Thank you all so much.
Several weeks ago, I'm a member of the men's breakfast club that someone mentioned a while ago. And several weeks ago, Frank posed the question, what is it about our church that you value? And I was amazed going around the table and each person speaking. The majority of us said this: it's the 7 principles that have drawn us to the church and keep us going. And these are principles not just for our generation, but these are the 7 principles that the founding people valued as well. And so in the spirit of that, we thought it'd be a good idea to sing a song based on the 7 principles. So I'll ask my congregational helpers to come on back up here, and we're going to learn this new song. It's on your handout. And here's how we'll do it. The stanzas where you have just the text, our singers up here will sing that part, and then we'll ask all of you to join us on the refrain. And this is what the refrain sounds like. I'll have Jackie to give us a pitch, and then I'll ask our congregational helpers to sing through that refrain one time to get you familiar with it, and we'll see how it goes, okay? Here it goes, there's the pitch. 7 principles be our guide, strong foundations where we'll abide, with covenant promised and chalice bright, we here reaffirm our principles. Let's do that one more time and pick the tempo up a little bit, okay? Everybody's singing this time. Go. 7 principles be our guide, strong foundations where we'll abide, with covenant promised and chalice bright, here we affirm our principles. Each person has worth and dignity, inherently, with justice, compassion, and equity, we strive to relate to all we need. 7 principles be our guide,
I'm curious about who wrote that song. Me too. Who wrote that song? Thank you doesn't say it, but thank you for your participation today. We could have done this with 5 people in the room, but doesn't it feel better to occupy all the chairs and to do this together? Thank you, thank you. I want to say a special thank you to Jackie Karish. A special thank you. A special thank you to Toya and Sean McClurkin, Keith Hutchinson. Thank you for all of that research. Take a look at Karina's timeline in the back. There is a photo from each decade as it tells our story. You might recognize a few folks. It'll be back there where our refreshments are, but you can't get at them yet because we're going to run out and get a picture, okay? Around the marquee. Zippity-doo-dah. We hope you have learned something about San Gabriel. We hope you heard something inspiring. And we hope you enjoyed hearing from each other about this shared journey. So what part do you want to play? What role will you have in our story? What will our legacy be? I invite you to hear from one of our most prominent founding mothers, Carolyn Mackey. We have a video from the Mackeys last Sunday before they left to move to Colorado. Listen as she delivers the words to the people there that day. They are still relevant to us.
It was a dark and stormy night in December 2006 when 30 Sun City and other Georgetown citizens met in the home of Caroline Rowe Mackey to consider organizing a Unitarian Universalist fellowship near the banks of the San Gabriel River.
Most Unitarians know the famous Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has." So this is our church. This is how we evolved, a small group of people gathering together, each giving and taking as needed, and each committed to our 7 UU principles, which are so holy, so holistic, and so timeless. I loved Mark's comment this morning that we are the ones we've been waiting for. I do not doubt that this fellowship will be alive and well as it celebrates its 50th year in 2057. Not all of us will be here, but there is much work yet to be done caring for each other, for the Georgetown community, and always fighting oppression. We believe in you, so we are the ones we've been waiting for. Keep up the good work.
A 15-year celebration is no easy feat. So among the people I would like to really thank this morning is Molly Hornbuckle, who brought us all together. For those of you that don't know, Molly Hornbuckle is our board president and took over at a really complex and interesting time in our history and has continued to serve with great leadership and integrity, and I'm really grateful. I'd also like to thank Sarah. If you look around, Sarah and her family put together, and their family put together all of these, all of artwork from our folks. So a lot of the artists are in right here with us, and so as you're enjoying fellowship, look around. A reminder for the potluck that's next Sunday, and now we get to all gather at the marquee and take a photo.